Hi, it's time for Rust 1.70.0, which was released today, June 1st, thanks to the hard work of 360 contributors. So, what's new? There's a lot new. First up, the Sparse index protocol that stabilized in Rust 1.68 is now turned on by default. If you missed it, I had a whole video about this and how it speeds up reading information about your project's dependencies by a lot. Now it's enabled by default. Number 2, OnceCell and OnceLock have been stabilized. OnceCell is a primitive which can be written to only once, and OnceLock is just the same but thread safe. This is useful when you want a constant, but you don't know its value at compile time. If you are familiar with the lazy static crate, this covers some of the same functionality. The release blog post includes a fun code snippet that demonstrates setting up a race between two threads attempting to initialize a OnceLock at the same time. First, it sets up a static variable named winner as a OnceLock, then it spawns a thread that attempts to set the value to the word thread while the main thread tries to read the variable, setting the value to main if it hasn't been set yet. Whichever thread sets the value first wins. Here's what it looks like when I run the program repeatedly. Sort of interesting. If you want to read more about OnceCell and OnceLock, there are links in the description. Number 3, there are 2 new compiler debug levels, and all of the levels now have names to refer to them by, instead of just numbers. These are the debug levels passed to the cdebuginfo compiler argument. Up until now, the values could be 0, 1, or 2, with 0 being the default level for the release profile, and 2 being the default for the dev profile. Rust 1.70 adds names for each of the existing profiles, as well as creating 2 new ones. The names are intended to be more stable than the numbers. In fact, debug level 1 will likely change from meaning limited now to meaning line tables only in the future, which is one reason that line tables only was added, so people who depend on that exact output can start using the name so the future change won't break them. The other new profile, line directives only, is specifically for NVIDIA's NVPTX platform. So unless you're compiling Rust for NVIDIA GPUs, you can ignore this one. Number 4, when Rust compiles tests, it produces test binaries that have their own command line options. Some of these options were supposed to only be available in nightly versions of Rust, but that wasn't being enforced. So some folks were mistakenly depending on unstable options in stable Rust. This has been fixed, which may temporarily break some things like test-related stuff in IDEs. Number 5, if you were using the ASM and global ASM assembly code macros, the order of the operands has been relaxed a little bit, so it's a little bit more flexible to write your assembly code. See the link in the description for more details. Number 6, there's now a compiler lint for ambiguous glob re-exports. There was already a lint for when you try to re-export the same name explicitly, like our attempt to re-export blue from multiple places here. Now the lint works when your re-exports are glob re-exports using the asterisk symbol. Up until now, you wouldn't get an error until you actually tried to use the re-exported symbol. Compiling would fail, citing that it was ambiguous which blue should be used. Number 7, the unused allocation compiler lint now catches some unnecessary usages of box new, which can help prevent unnecessary allocations. Number 8, there are now alignment checks for pointer dereferences when you're in debug mode. If you write a bunch of unsafe code using pointers, this may improve your life. Number 9, stir lines no longer splits on a bare carriage return. It will split on a new line or on a carriage return plus a new line, but not on just a carriage return. Number 10, the concat macro now accepts negative numeric literals. It already accepted string literals and positive numeric literals. Now it accepts negative numeric literals as well. Number 11, the x86 movbe or move data after swapping bytes CPU instruction target feature has been stabilized. So if you use x86 specific target features, have fun with it. Number 12, stabilized APIs. So many stabilized APIs. Look at that list. Let's plow through it. We already talked about OnceCell and OnceLock in their own special section since they're so exciting. All of the NonZero types now have a min and a max constant defining the minimum and maximum values. The min is actually really interesting for signed numbers. Since there's a gap at 0, the min can be different than for numbers that have a 0 value. BinaryHeap gains a retain iterator adapter method. Just like other collections, this method lets you empty a binary heap of anything that doesn't match the predicate. Both of the reference counting pointers get an into-inner associated function to move a value out from behind the pointer with guarantees on its behavior that weren't previously provided by any other means. Option and result both gain methods that return true if their value is a specific variant and the predicate you pass into it returns true. For example, the options IsSumAnd method will return true here because number is a sum variant and the number is greater than 5. Super convenient. The result methods are really similar. Next, all of the atomic primitives gain an as pointer method that returns a mutable pointer for use with FFI. Super useful if you're trying to deal with atomics in a C library. The IsTerminal trait provides a method to determine if a file descriptor, file handle, or pipe is a connection to a terminal. SocketAddrExt is a trait available only on Linux that provides methods to create a Unix socket address in the abstract namespace or return the contents of a socket address from the abstract namespace. There are 18 more items in the standard library that now implement the default trait than before. The list of those items wasn't real interesting, so I'm not going to go through it. But if you want a default value for something in the standard library, chances are that you can have one. The NonNull struct now has an associated function to construct a NonNull raw slice from a thin pointer and a length. This is useful for folks making clever data types that use raw pointers internally. You probably won't catch me using it since I'm just not that level of clever. The UnixDatagram struct now has methods for binding, connecting, and sending to socket addresses instead of socket paths. And the UnixListener struct similarly gets a method for binding to a socket address instead of a socket path. Someone has obviously been working on the sockets portion of the standard library, as we've seen various socket-related things stabilize over the last few releases. Finally, you can now borrow a mutable reference to the underlying OS stir in a path, presumably to change it. Phew, good work, folks. Number 13. Cargo now provides a new cargo package README environment variable that contains the path to your project's README file during compilation. This path can actually be different when you're building to upload a crate versus just building and running the code. So use this environment variable if you want your code to look at your own README for some reason. Number 14. Cargo Update will sometimes downgrade a dependency to meet pinned version requirements. This behavior stays the same, but now the output displays a yellow downgrading message instead of a green updating message for those lines to make it clearer. Number 15. There is a new cargo logout command which will remove any stored API credentials from your local machine. Number 16. Cargo login and the brand new cargo logout both now honor the default registry setting. So if you have set your registry to something other than crates.io, these commands will deal with that registry instead. Number 17. Cargo now retries more network calls with random delays, improving the chance of success even if you're on a flaky network connection. Number 18. There are a whole bunch of new clippy lints, 14 of them. I'll just go over a few of my favorites. The clear with drain lint helps you avoid allocating an unnecessary iterator to drain a vector when you could just call the clear method instead. The collection is never read lint checks for collections that you create and modify, but never read from. I mean, what good is it to create and sort a collection if you're just going to drop it without using it? Tests outside test module makes sure all of your tests are inside of a test module configured to only be compiled when running tests. Otherwise, your test will be compiled and included in your binary or library unnecessarily. And that's it for today, folks. Like and subscribe if you want more videos like this.